We are here with Chief Daniel Folks. Chief Folks is the chief of Hammond, Louisiana, where we are currently at with Small Town. So thank you for joining us for this little short period here. Um,
Absolutely.
what we mostly want to talk about, Chief, or what I'm most curious about is when we talk about these conferences, outside trainings, whether it be a Fools chapter or whether it be a big conference, small conference. What is your view of getting outside of your bubble, and how has that potentially impacted your career? I wanna hear your thoughts and your story.
So it's very important for firefighters to get outside of their bubble. You get outside of the normal hustle and bustle because we all know what happens inside of a firehouse, and a lot of times that's more of a compartmentalized situation. What kind of did it for me was one year I got the opportunity for the first time to go to FDIC. I can't even remember what year it was, but it was several years ago. Um, and I got to go to we went up Sunday, so I got to go to the pre-conference workshops, and I got to experience Ray McCormick and some of those guys who were actually teaching the hot classes that I went to, and it was just eye opening the amount of training that's out there, and it kind of hooked me a little bit. I always started to want more, and you go to the indoor pre-conference workshops where they're teaching about size up, and man, I never really thought about it that way. Um, so it really just broadens your viewpoint of how the fire service is. From little small town Hammond, Louisiana, to hey, this is how things are done, but hey, this is how things are done across the world. Sometimes you get to sit next to people that are from New York or California or Oregon or wherever, even Canada, and sometimes even from across the pond, uh, and they have such a different viewpoint than you have, and you just sit there and absorb it all, and it gets to that point to where you're like, I just want more, and it becomes almost addictive. Um, and so as I went through that whole week was just an assault on my fire senses, so to speak, and it really just caught the itch. I've always been into outside training. I always wanted more certifications, wanted specialized certifications, things like that. But when you get outside of that, that's when the real stuff starts coming in. That's when hey, this is how we do search. This is how we do handline. This is how we do attack packages, things like that. And just listening to some of the speakers, you sometimes kind of hold them up on a pedestal, and you just listen to them like they're bringing the word, right, and
Fire
it's
church.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
absolutely, and you just dive off into it. And I got to go to FDIC a couple more times after that, and you know I, we saw the surge of the more regional conferences, and started going to Florida over there with Kirk a couple of times, well, several times actually, and kind of dove off into that same attitude, that same um,
Energy maybe?
yeah, energy, atmosphere. And it's not just the classes; it's the extracurricular, it's the after hours, it's sitting there having a drink with fellow firefighters with the same mindset as you.
Let
That's where the real training happens.
let me ask you, one of the big things that I think, and correct me if I'm wrong on my timeline, but one of the big things that you did in Hammond was switching over to, and I don't want to go long, I don't want this to turn into a full-on podcast, but
Mm-hmm.
you started auto assigning search. That was you wrote an article about what was previous to you, and then a change that you had made as just a operational basis for how you operate. Was outside training the impetus for that? Was it like was that the where the idea to make that switch over happen? Is
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. A lot of outside influences. Just hearing different people teach classes about how important that is and how to put citizens first, and then trying to figure out, okay, well, we're in Hammond, Louisiana, we only have this amount of people, how can we do that? Well, yeah, we can do that, we can pull this off. It's not something that we can't do just because we don't have FDNY manpower. We can handle this kind of stuff. Really being able to dive off and bounce ideas off of other people, of similar like-minded people, and that kind of just kind of morphed into where we're at today, and it's light years ahead of where we were, and I'm proud of it, and conferences, getting outside of your department, getting outside of the normal training environment, like certifications and things like that. That's where it's at, and that brings those fresh ideas in. I also think it kind of freshens you up a little bit. It kind of gives you a shot. It's kind of like when you kind of feeling down, you go to the doctor, they give you a little steroid shot, and you feel like $1,000,000. That's kind of what conferences do for firefighters. It gives them that opportunity.
Yeah, it was funny because I just had Sam talk. I don't know, probably an hour ago, and he said it recharged the battery. So
Hmm.
it's like y'all are on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you. I'm so glad with, and I just kind of want to cap this off by saying, you as a fire chief, right? You are operationally in control of the fire department. That I'm so glad that you're plugged in. You're plugged into the Fools chapter. You're plugged into helping hold this, hold this conference. Get all these outside guys in. You're bringing your rookies into these things to say, here, right from the beginning of your career, you're going to go see some guys that aren't the training officers from your own department, and it helps you make a better fire department.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I love seeing that from you guys. I've said that multiple times previous, and I hope that at some point you'll come back and we'll have a long form conversation on
Yeah,
all
looking
kind of
forward
stuff,
to it.
fire department related. So if you're ever in Lafayette, come swing by and we'll have a face to face conversation. So
Sounds good.
I appreciate you joining us, Chief. Thank you,
Yes,
man.
sir. No problem.